In this lesson, you will be introduced to a new technique called ink wash. You'll need your watercolor brushes, your ink, a cup for water, and 4 containers for water and ink mixes. Before you start, we're going to experiment with the washes to see how they layer with each other. So let's begin to make our washes. You'll start by adding 1 drop of ink to the first bunch, 2 drops of ink to the second, 3 drops of ink to the third, and 4 to the fourth. Take your larger brush, mix the ink, and lay some down on the paper. Clean your brush. Do the next tone. And your last tone. You should have 4 distinct tones. If you don't, then go back and add some ink to the tones that need to change. I think my 1 and 2 are fine, but I need to add more to 3 and 4. Keep testing them until you get them right, until they get to a point where you're happy. Okay, now I have to add a little water to number 3. That's better. A little more ink to number 2. Once you've done your experiments in tone development and layering, go ahead and start with your first practice exercise. Choose some flowers. I've chosen my daisies again. And put a strong light on them. This will make it easier for you to have a wide range of tones to work with. Start with the lightest wash and place it where you see there are darks. Once you dip your brush into your ink wash, it helps to tap a paper towel to take off the excess before you bring it to your paper. Now let that dry and start with the next step. If you make a mistake and make something too dark, if you immediately use your paper towel, you can blot it. And eventually, you work your way down to, from the lightest to the darkest tones. And you find yourself making your final marks. Don't be afraid to switch pens if you need a smaller pen. Give yourself plenty of time to do your drawing so you can afford to let each tone dry in between so you don't get bleeding like that. You can also blend with your fingers. Effectively using your finger as a brush. It doesn't hold as much ink, but it certainly can work. Now let it dry completely. You can do this with the washes you've already mixed or by adding something straight from the bottle. I'm going to use the darkest of my mixes. And just with your darkest inks, you just need a few places to offset the rest of the tones. You don't need to overload it with black. Go slowly. It's much easier to add darks than to take them away. And then eventually you have an ink wash drawing.